When buying a house, many people look at the government valuation attached to the Section 32. But today I want to remind everyone that in the current poor and downward market environment, doing this is actually quite dangerous. Why is that? First, we need to understand how government valuations are actually calculated. A government valuation isn't done by an appraiser visiting your home and then assessing it based on specific market conditions. It's generated through bulk data and automated valuation models. More importantly, it has a very obvious problem, which is the time lag. The government valuation we see in contracts now is still the version released after July 2025. The market data referenced in this version of the government valuation is actually from January 1st, 2025 and earlier. In other words, when you're looking at a potential house in June 2026, the government valuation you see is still from more than an entire year ago. So when will the new government valuation for 2026 come out? You'll have to wait until after July 1st, 2026. So government valuations naturally have a lag, ranging from a minimum of 6 months to a maximum of 18 months. Also, many people have a misconception that government valuations are usually lower than the market price. In a rising market, this might often be true, but in a rapidly falling market, the government valuation could actually be higher than the real market price. For example, let's say there's a house in Baldwin where the government valuation in the contract shows 4.8 million. At the same time, it also states that this figure is based on the market before January 2025. By June this year, when the house actually sold, the price was only 4.1 million, a difference of 700,000. This is a classic example of government valuations seriously lagging behind the market. If a seller relies on this valuation thinking, the government valuation is already 4.8 million, I can't sell it for much less, they might miss the best time to sell and eventually have to accept an even lower price. If a buyer relies on this valuation, they might end up overpaying. That's why I always emphasize that you can't rely on government valuations when buying a house. It's easy to be misled. You must research comparable sales in the current market, buyer competition, the property specifics, and current market sentiment.